What is up, YouTube? So we are here with a big update in the YNW Melly case. Now, for those of you who haven't been following this case, I'll give you a brief synopsis of the case. He's been down since 2018, I think 2019, maybe 2020. But like 5 years plus. He's had his trial for murder once, got mistrialed with a hung jury, and he's still locked up. The crime was he allegedly killed two of his best, because there was a group of four of them, which was YNW, and allegedly him and one of the other members killed the other two members on a road in the middle of the Everglades. But they're alleging that they got hit with a drive-by shooting, and that's what killed them. There's a lot of weird evidence both ways. It's really one of those cases where from the evidence you can't say for sure. There was a lot of shady stuff done both ways. Like I don't know what happened, and I don't really have, like, I'm somewhere down the middle. It could have been either one. As far as YNW Melly, I will be honest, I do have inside information to him. Two of my close friends have done songs with him. Like, I know a bunch of people that know him pretty decently well. So, yeah, he's been suffering. He's been, like, 5+ years in a very bad jail. And if you go look up his music, he has some of the best music. He does rap, hip-hop, but very melodic, and he can really sing. And his music, honestly, I really hope he comes out if he's innocent at all. Like, he has such good music as well. Like, we don't have someone as good as him in music right now, sort of in his lane. It's crazy. Anyone, go look up his song "Money on My Mind" or whatever. Anyways, it's YNW Melly. But anyways, this case has been going on, like I said, for a long time. They had the mistrial, and now the name of this video, it's from Cuff Boys, is YNW. Hold on, I'll actually just do this so you can see it. YNW Melly is suing Broward County Sheriff's Office for violating his rights. So remember, he was a big artist. I'm sure he has other people in the industry funding him. He has pretty good lawyers, from what I understand. They seem like really good lawyers. And it's a hard case. It's a hard case. Anyways, let's react to whatever this lawsuit is.
A.G.B Melly's defense team has filed a 12-page lawsuit against Broward County Sheriff's Office, citing egregious violations of his constitutional rights and requesting his immediate release. I know a lot of you are going to say, who cares, Melly's cooked, all the evidence points to him, but he's presumed innocent. I know it's going to piss a lot of you off, but he is. Same with Diddy. I obviously don't support anything, that's just how this country works, you know what I mean? All these guys are presumed innocent. This lawsuit details some really messed up shit, so stick around, hit subscribe, here we go. Alright, here's the lawsuit. Jamel Demons versus Gregory Tony, Sheriff of Broward County and Broward County Sheriff's Office. Jamel Demons, bind through undersigned counsel, petitions this court for a writ of habeas corpus pursuant to Title 28 U.S.C. 2241 and asking the respondents to appear and show cause why Jamel Demons should not be immediately released from custody for egregious violations of the United States Constitution. Jamel Demons seeks his immediate release because he is being illegally detained under conditions that violate the 1st, 5th, 6th, 8th, and 14th Amendments to the United States Constitution. Demons is a black male whose current detention conditions shock the conscience and should not even be imagined in this day and age and even third world country that has no guardrails protecting human decency and dignity. They've been saying for years that he's being treated differently and they were trying to break him mentally on purpose. So let's see.
And I do want to say where they're keeping him, since Florida, this part of Florida is from Broward, very notorious. My old co-host has been there to this jail, like Pino. They do things like what he's alleging, especially to people like him, and other rappers and other public people who've seen him in there have confirmed that they are doing stuff like that. And like he said, this is a guy who's presumed innocent. There's going to be people on both sides, but what I'm going to say is, like, this is one of the cases, if all the evidence pointed to him being so guilty, why is the prosecution acting so shady? You know, because they are. If you go and follow the case, they really are acting shady. It doesn't make sense to me when it's all right there like they say it is. Why are you acting shady and not just killing them with the facts, you know? Anyways, let's go on with this video.
There's any new stuff in here. For over 3 years, Jamel Demons has not been permitted to make a single phone call or have a single visit with his family or any
I'm sorry. He hasn't had a phone call or a visit in 3 years with his family. That's fucked. How is that even okay? That's not even okay once you get found guilty. There is a good chance he could be innocent. Even for some people, if it's low, this isn't a for sure case. And remember, his co-defendant got let out on bond for a while. Oh, man.
Member of the outside world.
So it's, the thing I want to say, too, the reason stuff like this is horrible is when you're fighting a case that he could possibly get the death penalty, right? The stuff that, like, Wade Wilson goes and says, oh, they're doing all this to me, that's what's actually happening in his case, okay? Imagine you're fighting a death penalty case, okay? Let's just assume you're innocent for a second, okay? Because this shouldn't even happen to a guilty person. But let's just assume you're innocent, okay? And you're doing this, right? And then they're torturing you. You haven't been allowed a single visit in the last 3 years. You haven't been able to call a single family member in 3 years. You're locked in a cell doing 23-1 in a gross-ass Florida jail. You know what I'm saying? Being denied medical treatment, not having anything what you need, versus being on bond and fighting your case from on bond. Who do you think's going to have a better chance? Like, it's honestly ridiculous. Like, you can't tell me that no phone calls to or from family and no visits for 3 years isn't torture. It's 100% torture. That's messed up. We're, like, not very far into this video, and it's already, like, some bad... Like, I thought it was just going to be the regular conditions, but no, that's not okay.
Speaking with his own mother in over 3 years, ! That's very fucked up. I know a lot of people are like, he's cooked, he killed his 2 best friends, fuck him, he should be in there. I get those comments all the time. Even people that are convicted of murder and convicted R-word, people that do mass shootings, they get to call people. Why do those people get to call people but Melly doesn't? Was given coded language to people through fucking notes. Remember that whole thing? He got charged with witness tampering recently. That's why. But 3 years seems like a long time for that. Demons has and continues to be subjected to the type of debilitating isolation that renders his conditions of incarceration cruel, unusual, and beyond belief in a civilized society governed by constitutional safeguards. He has also had restrictions placed by detention officials designed to impede his interactions with his attorneys, his ability to prepare for trial on capital murder charges. He should be able to talk to his attorneys at all times. I said this previously, that's insane. They're trying to prepare for trial. His cruel treatment by the
hold on.
warrants as an official designed to impede his interactions with his attorneys. His ability to prepare for trial, Melly doesn't. Was given coded language to people through fucking notes. Remember that whole thing? He got charged with witness tampering recently. That's why. But 3 years seems like a long time for that. Demons has and continues to be subjected to the type of debilitating isolation that renders his conditions of incarceration cruel, unusual, and beyond belief in a civilized society governed by constitutional safeguards. He has also had restrictions placed by detention officials designed restrictions and interfere with the ability of his attorneys to enter for over 3 years. In addition, the respondents have been permitted phone and person. Ridiculous, but it's bond. I don't think anyone would ever get bond. Who remains, I just said. A new set of prosecutors have come on and died, and it's just new prosecutors on the case that aren't 2023 Broward Circuit Judge responsible for the humane treatment and overall conditions. It's insane. They're trying to prepare for trial. Capital murder charges. He should be able to talk to his attorney.
Okay, sorry about that. I accidentally hit a button on my keyboard. I'm just getting us right back to the right spot.
He has also had restrictions placed by detention officials designed to impede his interactions with his attorneys, his ability to prepare for trial on capital murder charges. He should be able to talk to his attorneys at all times.
Okay, that was the part. I kept messing up because, like, I was, like, in shock that I heard that. Okay, from what I understood, they can impede with other stuff, but it's never, ever, ever supposed to be impeding with your attorneys. Like, how could they ever argue that he's being able to fight his case fairly when they're impeding on your attorneys? That's insane. This is wrong. If this stuff is true, this is wrong what they're doing to him, and he needs to come out on bond. How could he ever have a chance of having a fair trial if this is what's going on, right? I'll bring this back to the Wade Wilson case, right? You hear Wade complaining all the time, talking on the phones, doing all this, right? And then you have a guy like this, guilty or not, I don't know if he's guilty. He can't talk to his family for 3 years? You know what I'm saying? Having trouble speaking to his lawyers? But mind you, Wade's out here running a whole fucking online web business. This is insane, the double standards. This is in Florida, both of them. What is going on? What is going on? This is something people need to bring attention to, because this is insane.
I said this previously, that's insane. They're trying to prepare for trial. His cruel treatment by the Broward detention authorities warrants his immediate release from pretrial detention, since the detaining authorities have shown such callous disregard for his human dignity right to counsel. He's currently incarcerated at Broward County Jail. Sheriff Gregory Tony is the sheriff of Broward County and responsible for the humane treatment and overall conditions of inmates in Broward County detention facilities. Been arrested since February 13, 2019. Mistrial in July of 2023 and October of 2023. Broward Circuit Judge.
And on top of that, I'll relate this to Wade again. He's had a mistrial. Wade went to court, boom, guilty, unanimous. This dude went to court already, and the people in the jurors box couldn't decide. To me, right there, you should at least get bond. It's insane. Insane.
John Murphy granted the petitioner's motion to disqualify the state prosecutor in a motion containing the state attorney's withheld evidence. Remember, they kicked off that prosecutor, and then now they have 2 new prosecutors on the case that aren't playing no games. They appealed some bullshit they know is going to get denied, and it's just delaying the case on purpose so they have more time to make a case on Melly. A new set of prosecutors have come on and have done everything in their power to delay the trial from commencing. Literally what I just said. The case currently stayed pending on ruling of an appeal taken by state attorney. Meanwhile, the plaintiff, who remains in custody since February 2019, is continuously abused and denied bond. I don't think anyone would ever get bond for the charges he has. That'd be pretty ridiculous, but it's capital murder charges. No one gets bond on this. The petitioner has not been...
That is true. No one gets bond on that. And even after a mistrial, that is true. No one gets bond on that. But if he's able to make this lawsuit go through and a bunch of this does become true, maybe he doesn't get bond, because I do agree it's capital murder. You got to be careful with something like that, but there has to be somewhere else you can place him where all this stuff isn't going to happen to him. Like maybe moved out like to a different county, or there has to be something. Something has to change, because there's no way with everything that's being done to him, assuming it's true, which from what I've heard on the grapevine, it is. Yeah, no, something needs to change. Chat, you let me know what some good ideas of what they could do is. And also, chat, let me know how you feel about this. I want to know if you think he's innocent or guilty. And I also want to know about how you feel about the difference in treatment from Wade to him. Because we're hearing all these calls of Wade goofing around, calling all these other random people. And then this guy hasn't been allowed to talk to anyone but his lawyers in 3 years. And his lawyers, they're restricted in when they could do it. How does that make... And he's trying to fight a death penalty. How is that okay? Like, even if it was Wade, okay? Even if it was Wade, right? Who we know is guilty. He would still be afforded these rights, and I would say it for wrong not to. You know what I'm saying? To be able to talk to his lawyers properly and stuff like that. Even though I don't like Wade, we all know that there's a process, and we have to give those rights to everybody so that nobody good falls through the cracks, or at least as few as possible. This is really insane. This is baffling me.
Permitted phone in person or any type of visitation with his family, including his mother, for over 3 years. In addition, the respondents have placed unreasonable restrictions and interfered with the ability of his attorneys to interact with him, included forcing his attorneys to wait for hours to see him, not letting them see him at all, and forcing them to meet with him in conditions that interfere with and impede the privacy and privileged nature of his communication with his lawyers. So in April of 2022, an inmate, Jamal Myers, filed a grievance report in retaliation of the plaintiff's refusal to purchase him food from the commissary. Myers filed a grievance report not only plaintiff but for another inmate. Inmate Myers alleged in part that Demons was planning an escape by having his attorney bring in 2 handcuff keys to aid in the escape. Okay. That just doesn't seem possible. No attorney is going to do that. It's probably some bullshit conversation Melly was having with someone and was just yapping. In response, correction personnel conducted a shakedown of plaintiff's cell and the other inmate's cell. In accordance with certain supplemental investigation report, the shakedown of plaintiff's cell under commissary and excessive jail issued clothes, which were confiscated and disposed of as per operational orders of the jail.
Oh man, they busted him with a couple extra. So he didn't just have one set of clothes. He might have had three or four jumpsuits. And, they caught him with some extra honey buns. Oh no!
Oh, okay. This is about Melly's in the same cell as him, was found with a shank. I remember this whole situation now. The other inmate on the dorm was found in possession of shanks, prescription drugs, and other contraband. The inmate was subsequently charged for possession of the contraband. Plaintiff was found to have committed no wrongdoing, and the investigation closed on the plaintiff on April 11, 2022. Despite doing no wrong, the plaintiff was moved from his current dorm into solitary confinement, and all phone communications with the outside world ceased. Shortly thereafter, two plaintiffs' defense counsel attended to visit him and were not allowed entry into the jail facilities. The facility refused to provide any reason to the denial. Melly's lawyer made an Ortinis motion regarding the jail's interference with plaintiff's right to counsel. Honorable Judge Andrew Siegel summoned Broward Sheriff's Office Attorney Christian Tsobis to court. Tsobis defended the actions of the facility, saying there was an open investigation against Mr. Demmons, and further that he was a threat to the security of the jail because he was alleged by the attorney to have been found with a shank in his dorm. But I thought it wasn't about Melly. Someone else got found with it. And I thought the investigation closed at some point. Melly's lawyer inquired if any of Mr. Demmons' defense team were at the time ever under investigation. The attorney responded no. Judge Andrew Siegel instructed Attorney T, I'm going to say T, dude, that the jail could not restrict the plaintiff's contact with his attorneys, and Attorney T would have to come up with effectuate plaintiff's visits with his attorneys. As a result, Melly's visitations took place in a visitation booth located downstairs in the bond room. So this is a lot of the same messed up conditions we've been hearing for years, that they can't even talk to him in like a private room. It's through a glass booth with his lawyer.
Wade's yapping to everybody on a tablet, doing this, doing that, sending emails. This dude can't even sit in the same room with his lawyers. They have to do it through glass. So you're telling me that like no problem they can like, there's no way that does not impede you and put you at it, like the huge disadvantage you have talking to your lawyer through a foggy piece of glass with scratches all over it, where you're like, what'd you say? Like that. I can barely see face motions and interactions. So much more to human interaction than just voice. I mean, it's like versus the prosecution who's like, in some nice high-rise tower overlooking the beach. They're going and getting Starbucks. They're ordering Chinese. Who do you think is in a better position? I understand the prosecution's almost always going to be in a better position like that, but like this is ridiculous. How are you impeding with his lawyer? You have these people like Sarah Boone who go and have however many lawyers and are firing all of them and doing all that, but they still get access. But him, for that stuff? Yo, this is making me angry. And I'm like, I try and be real non-biased and stuff like this. Even sometimes when we're on live, and if I agree with what everyone's saying, I'll sometimes try and say the opposite point because, get some conversation going and have two sides. But like with this, it's like, in the chat, I'm not asking if you guys think he's innocent or guilty. Is what they're doing okay? And isn't it crazy compared to how they treated Wade to this guy? I wonder if the color of his skin has something to do with it.
The visitation booth did not accommodate Mr. Demmons and his defense team in one sitting. Moreover, it was impossible to review any documentation of Mr. Demmons due to the plexiglass divider. I mean, I know there's a lot of damning evidence against Melly. I'm one of the guys that points out this damning evidence for years. But he's presumed innocent, technically. You gotta think about that. All these charges and everything, he's presumed innocent. Same with Lil Durk, same with Diddy. Not only was the visitation room not large enough to accommodate defense attorneys, but anyone else also standing outside of the room could hear everything that is said in the room, violating defense right to private and privileged communications. That's the bad part right there, that anyone could hear it. September 2022, Raven Liberty filed a motion to remove visitation and communication or interaction.
Wait, what? So they're not even allowing private meetings with his lawyers. Not only was the visitation room not large enough to accommodate the defense attorneys, so they couldn't bring the whole team in there, but anyone also standing outside of the room could hear everything that is said in the room. So you don't think the guard posted up out there isn't telling the prosecution stuff? You're crazy if you think that. They all work together. And if you can hear it, it's not private and it's not confidential. So you can go tell people, unless you're one of the people in there. That's how the Mendez brothers got caught. It was the woman outside the room who heard, even though what was in the room was confidential. They're railroading him. If half of this is true, they are railroading him. And yes, he is right. There is a lot of good evidence against YNW Melly. I agree. There's also some shady stuff. I thought he was guilty for sure, and then I watched the last trial, and the way the prosecution was acting, either they're just super corrupt and don't know how to not be corrupt, or they really didn't have what they were saying they had, because they were just so shady about everything. And if they really had what they were saying they had and they just put that up, done. So, like, I have doubts both ways now, you know? There's some damning stuff on both sides, but this is crazy. Someone you think you've got red-handed, you don't need to do all this stuff. Am I wrong? This makes me even doubt them even more. If he's guilty, they're shooting themselves in the face by what they're doing.
Restriction.
This is like bad prosecution. Realistically, let's go to that. If he's guilty, the best chance of him getting out is because of the dumb stuff they're doing and possibly bringing public sentiment against them and on his side because of this.
Prior to the hearing on the motion, attorney Raven Liberty contacted Christian T in an effort to reach a resolution without a hearing. Instead, Raven Liberty was met with unhinged screaming from the BSO attorney, questioning her about, what do you talk about? Why do you spend so much time with him? Wait, the BSO attorney was questioning why a lawyer is spending so much time with someone preparing for trial for capital murder charges. Why would they not spend a lot of time together? That's how it
What
went.
the fuck?
Christian T ended the conversation and telling Raven Liberty that if she went forward with the hearing, he would embarrass her. This guy sounds like a dick. It's important to note that the plaintiff's defense team was not in possession of the incident reports. The defense team and the court all relied on Mr. T proffers to the court that have not been determined to be untruthful. Despite the believable threat of character assassination, Raven Liberty proceeded hearing on the motion. Christian T ranted and raved about unverified allegations and the behavior of the plaintiff. Despite Christian T attempts to not only embarrass attorney Raven Liberty, he failed. T was instructed to accommodate visitation between plaintiff and his attorneys that was free of third parties being able to listen. On September 29, 2022, Raven Liberty was contacted by a reporter for an online media outlet and informed that an unknown member of BSO contacted them and led them to believe she was attorney that inmate Myers was speaking about in his unfounded grievance. Wait, BSO is talking to media members? What? I was unaware of this, or I forgot, because this case has taken fucking 5 years. But what? Or 6 years, actually. As a result of the accusations of the Broward Sheriff's Office, stories ran for weeks about the alleged nefarious escape plan between Raven Liberty and Melly. The escape plan created by Broward Sheriff's Office was not the worst of it. December 1st, 2022, under the charge of Captain Hubert, plaintiff without cause was moved to a unit inside the jail that is meant to accommodate 24 inmates. Plaintiff was only housed on the vacant unit, with no privileges, no television, and no access to newspaper. So he's completely isolated. When plaintiff was allowed his hour of cell.
So you heard that. He was on a vacant unit. Okay? So when he was doing trial stuff, his unit, all the other cells were empty, and he was just in his cell with plaintiff was only housed on the vacant unit with no privileges, no television, and no access to newspapers. Probably no books, no commissary, no nothing. Think about that. You're on a whole wing just locked in one cell by yourself.
All other inmates had to go back inside their cells. What the fuck is going on? They're like keeping them all separate. I mean, it could be for his own safety, but could be also just to mentally break him. During December 2022, Lieutenant Jean-Baptiste, along with Sergeant Anthony Kidd, threatened plaintiff if he told his attorneys about his treatment, they would hide him away from the world. What? This is very sketchy. Melly has not had phone privilege.
And I believe all of this because this is how they do it in Florida. Me and Pino gonna talk about this for sure. He's gonna tell y'all.
Since May 2022. Melly has not had private visitations with his defense team since March 2022. As recently, without reason, plaintiff was moved to the Paul Rain Detention Center and housed on a floor with no one else. His door has been removed from the cell, preventing any privacy. And a member of the emergency response team shadowing him 24 hours a day. They were instructed not to speak to him. Melly went without any contact.
So you're in a cell with no door, on a wing with nobody. You're only allowed out of your cell once in a while, but there's a guard shadowing you who just follows you and watches you do everything you do all day, and he can't talk to you. You can't talk to him. You're sitting in your cell. You're there. There's no door. There's a guard sitting right there. All day, all night, while you're shitting. Like, this is to mentally break him. And this is why I think, like, if your case is so strong, if you have everything you're saying you have and all this evidence is right, why are you doing this? You shouldn't treat anybody like this. And I go back to the difference of how they're treating big baby Wagerkiss versus this guy. Right? They're both accused of doing very similar things. It's so messed up.
For several months until Broward Sheriff's Office moved him. Florida statute states that a person arrested shall be allowed to consult with any attorney entitled to practice in the state, alone and in private at the place of custody, as often and for such periods of times as reasonable. The ongoing denial of Mr. Demons' access to his attorneys is not only preventing Mr. Demons' attorneys from properly preparing Mr. Demons' defense, but is in violation of not only the Sixth Amendment rights, but Florida as well. In order to punish and isolate Demons, the respondents have isolated him and not permitted a single phone call or visit from his family in over 3 years. The isolation has inflicted an enormous emotional impact on him and is designed to deteriorate his mental health and his ability to prepare for trial now scheduled for September 2025. These restrictions are not for security reasons and bear no rational relationship to any legitimate security interests. The respondents monitor the custody of thousands of inmates and have never imposed such restrictions. No non-black inmates currently have any such punitive restrictions. Yikes.
No, that's facts. Look at Wade Wilson. Oh, man. Honestly, like, I'm listening to it and everything they're alleging should be easy to prove. Because it would be all in writing. So this is probably all real. I knew some of this already was happening, but probably pretty much at least 90% of what they're saying is easily verifiable. So it's real. It means they have paperwork proving it.
One is illegally and improperly violated petitioner's constitutional guaranteed right to counsel, his ability to prepare for trial. Ground 2, the respondent is being illegally detained under conditions that are cruel and unusual and not only bear no rational relationship to any legitimate state interest, but violate the petitioner's rights to due process and equal protection. Prison walls do not form a barrier separating prison inmates from the protections of the Constitution.
Facts.
Wow, that's a good sentence right there.
That is
Hence,
a good
for example,
one.
Prisoners retain the constitutional right to petition the government for the redress of grievances. When a prison regulation or practice offends a fundamental constitutional guarantee, federal courts will discharge their duty to protect constitutional rights. Citing a bunch of cases here, Johnson versus Avery. Petitioner respectfully requests his court issue a writ of habeas corpus, directing response to show cause why he should not be released from the unlawful detention, and grant such other relief as the court deems just and proper. Because of the abuse and outrageous violations of his rights guaranteed by the United States Constitution, coupled with the efforts by the state to delay his trial after years of custody. Submitted by Michael A. Pisa. That's a new name, right? I've never seen this lawyer.
Yeah, I think
so
it's
this must
a new
be a
one
new
on his
lawyer
case.
for Melly. So all these conditions are definitely because of the witness tampering situation. That's the only justification I see for it. And maybe his safety too, like keeping him away from other inmates. But no door in his cell, not talking to him at all, like no guards talking to him, not being able to talk to his family on the phone, not being able to talk to his lawyers. I mean, all four of those things every other inmate in this country can do, pretty much. Everyone convicted in prison is able to talk to people. No matter what you think, you say he's cooked, the evidence is bad, I know. But imagine that's how Melly gets released. I wouldn't get my hopes up, but hit subscribe, join Center membership. I love you guys. Peace out.
Here's the thing. Whether he is guilty or not, it is not okay to treat anybody like that. We have those rights and protections for a reason. And yes, do they protect some horrible people? Sometimes, yes. But the reason they apply to everyone is because they protect a whole lot more vulnerable good people than those couple bad people. Right? And what they're doing, there's been a mistrial. He might not be guilty. He might be guilty. There's no way anyone should be treated like that. Especially when they're supposed to be presumed innocent. And like they said, there's no other white inmates or really inmates in general anywhere getting treated like that. This is really messed up. And then you guys think of all the calls of Wade we've heard. Oh yeah, no. Like let's still take the 200K. Like, yo, Feather. Like, oh my, this is insane. This is insane. It's disgusting. There's definitely some racism going on. I don't know if he's guilty or not, but either way, what's going on is not okay. And especially, like, I wouldn't be happy if you did all this. Well, I'd be happy maybe if you did all this to Wade, but I wouldn't think it was okay. You know? Things that, not everything that, because I'm happy about it, but I'm still willing to say certain things aren't okay. You couldn't treat Wade like this. You know what I'm saying? You couldn't treat anyone who's facing a death penalty like he is like this. It's insane. This type of treatment is going to get people to break and get them the death penalty who are really innocent. And it happens. This is just messed up. I'm going to keep covering this case. Once it gets closer to the trial, me and Pino will be doing a live where we bring on a bunch of people who knew him and worked with him and stuff like that. When it comes to music, I'm very connected into the industry, right? Remember, I work for a pretty dope music network. But yeah, anyways, like, comment, subscribe. Let me know your feelings on all this. I hope everyone's having a blessed Sunday. Enjoy your day. Peace out. Stay blessed.